What are your best examples of people cheating the system? I'll start. I work in a typical office building, but today I saw something interesting. Lazy co-worker number 11 has been leaving around lunchtime to go to the gym. Except I had to get something out of my car and I saw her, in her workout clothes, eating out of a tub of fried chicken. I didn't say anything, but she walked back in 15 minutes later saying how sore she would be tomorrow. She works out every day. My boss has a policy that if you're going to work out you don't have to clock out, which means lazy co-worker number 11 essentially gets paid to eat fried chicken in a jogging suit in her minivan. As annoyed as I am, I'm also slightly impressed that she thought of this. So I work in the luggage claim department for a major airline. All day I get to hear customers yelling and complaining. What I did is borrow one of the wheelchairs from the airport and sit behind my desk all day long. Customers come in all angry, see me in the wheelchair, realize they are about to yell at a guy who is possibly crippled, and all of a sudden they turn into the nicest people. Physically my blood pressure has dropped and in general I'm in a pretty good mood most of the time. You are the wind beneath my wings. In the good old days of Black Friday, before stores like Best Buy started getting very crafty and clandestine with their deals, 8+ years ago, there used to be a slight buffer where someone would leak the sales and the items wouldn't be removed from the shelves. I don't remember specifically, but they had a system to prevent you from purchasing then prismuching retroactively. As soon as this happened I strolled on down to Best Buy, took a bunch of stuff that I wanted, and put it in their dryers and washing machines. Basically whatever hiding place that didn't look like it got a lot of browsing or consideration. Then when Black Friday comes, sleep in, head to the store around noon and pull the doorbusters out of a washing machine. I used to work in a camera store that sold warranties. No matter how the camera broke, they would fix it or replace it under the warranty. The only problem was that the store would ship off the camera to be repaired, sometimes 4 months, up to 5 times before replacing it. So, let's say your battery cover breaks off. You ship it off and 6 weeks later it's back. But it's really a brand defect, so the cover pops off again. They won't replace the whole piece or give you another camera. You're out the camera 4 months while it's being fixed. They keep selling the defective camera and the warranties. I got tired of fricking over customers. I thought it was dishonest. I read the contract myself and found an interesting clause. If the camera was so physically damaged that it was obvious it couldn't be fixed, we could take a pic of it and send that instead. The person immediately got a new camera. When people would come in with a camera with a defect I'd seen 100 times, I'd ask if they just wanted a new one, the next model up, without the defect. They'd say yes and I'd tell them to take it out into the parking lot and run over it with their car. I'd pile the pieces on the counter, take a pic and give them their new, non-defective camera. I slept fine. If you were feeling particularly malicious after they run over their camera you could tell them that intentional damage isn't covered under warranty. I'm from Northern Ireland, and when ordering stuff online I'd always write Belfast Island on it, instead of NI. The post will still get there, as yes, technically Belfast's in Ireland P. The post would be directed via the Dublin sorting office, instead of coming into the UK routes. 9 times out of 10, the Dublin sorting office would just send it on up to Belfast, instead of forwarding it to Royal Mail in London, who would then slap a huge import bill on it, whereas the Southern Irish Postal Service can't charge me import, as I'm a UK citizen. The Republic of Ireland couldn't give a frick if the Queen's out of pocket over a few quid. My granddad was a Royal Mail postman for years. He taught me that one. At my university I would always order delivery from a late night eatery and get a ride home with the delivery guy. Less expensive than a taxi, with a meal included. A teacher I had in high school always said to his students, if you can get away with cheating, go for it. Turns out he had gotten a raise for getting his master's degree, but never actually got the degree. This went on for over 10 years before the school system figured it out. Somehow he got hired at a new school too. I use LimeWire to download LimeWire Pro. Every time someone posts this I find myself grinning and nodding my head. I thought I was a freaking genius when I did it. When I was in college, I had this meal plan where the school essentially took my actual money and turned it into campus dollars that could only be spent at school dining halls and cafes. I didn't mind so much until the end of the semester. When I was informed that any unspent campus dollars would go away, I had more than $100 left and only a day to spend them. Here's what I did. I went to the nicest campus restaurant, the one where you're supposed to take your parents when they come to visit. Basically, a real restaurant with wait staff that also happened to take campus dollars. I got the most expensive thing on the menu and then called the waiter over. I asked him if I could tip him in campus dollars, and he said yes. I asked him if he would have immediate access to those campus dollars in the form of actual money, and he said yes. So I made him a deal. I gave him a monster tip, and he gave me half of it back in actual money. Many years later, I am still proud of this. I made a server's day, screw the man, and got my money back. I was flying last month, and the plane I was on had Wi-Fi. There was a free 15-minute trial, and then you could purchase a chunk of time. I just kept deleting the cookies on my phone, refreshing, and logging back in. I stayed online for over an hour for free. This reminds me of when I was on a late night train which had free TV for 5 minutes on back of seat screens. So I just kept moving seats for an 1h30 train journey. You're a menace to society. Whoa, all you need to do is delete the cookies. Hell yeah. My boss will often check the date modified on certain files on our server to see if I have updated or even opened a certain file recently. So, I have installed a changer utility that allows me to modify the date modified on any file. This comes in most handy when my boss wants to give me weekend assignments. I just come in on Monday morning and change the date modified to Saturday night and he thinks I was actually doing something for work on Saturday night. I've actually received a lot of kudos for this. I don't feel bad though, because my boss is a huge donghead. The college I commuted to didn't have enough parking for the commuters, but roughly 10 times what it needed for the residents. One day I was forced to park in the resident parking and got a ticket. Every day I had to park there I'd slip the ticket under my windshield wiper and walk on into class. The cars around me would get tickets, but they'd just leave the old one on my windshield figuring they already got me. Never even paid it. Worcester State did a horrible job of enforcing parking fines 10 years ago. At the arcade if you pull the ticket out real slow and careful you can get an extra one. Boom. I lived in a trailer park next to a Chuck E. Cheese and before they got the shredders, they just threw out the old tickets in trash bags. I'd wait until the shift changed the next day and split the tickets with my friends. Great system. For me it doesn't go much further than crapping on company time. Still, I like those craps so much more than the ones at home. The boss makes $1 when I make a dime. That's why I eat on company time. Whenever people come to the pool where I lifeguard and have guests with them, I always ask them if they live more than 50 miles away. Our policy is guests from more than 50 miles away don't pay guest fees. If they say no I give them the look and ask them again. They usually say yes after that, saving customers $2 like a boss. I bring all my rechargeable items, shaver, cell phone, laptop, etc. to work and plug them in there. I figure I must have saved at least $1 to $2 last year in electricity. Old lady, 80s, at my college bookstore, walked in the back with a bag, placed 2 books in her bag, and then I watched walk to the front as she sold them back to the bookstore. I wanted to say something, but was too impressed. I'm not surprised. Some of the most audacious douchebaggery I've seen in my life was done by old ladies. If you are a woman over about 55 you are invisible. You are non-threatening, unassuming, and trustworthy. You are grammar. You can get away with things you wouldn't believe. When I was a sweet-looking teenager, my grandma and I would sometimes sneak into movies at big cinemas. No one suspected. She'd pack sandwiches. I should call her, because no one expects the sweet little old lady. My wife and I were at a super fancy restaurant in NYC. Reservations not allowed. Expect to wait. We get there and are told we will be waiting about 2 hours. No problem, we planned on this. Some guy right after us shook the reservation guy's hand handing him $200. Next thing I know I hear table 424 Thomas. Thomas being my name and I asked for a table of 2. I say that is me. They sit us and we order drinks and apps. 5 minutes later they say we are the wrong Thomas, but we could stay since we had already ordered. Guess who was the right Thomas? The guy who paid $200 to skip the line.